Hello, America. Big Lou here. It's Easter Sunday, April 12th, 2020. And I want to take this opportunity to wish each and every one of you a very happy, healthy, and holy Easter Sunday. I want to talk a little bit about how different and special this Easter is to me. In fact, it's probably the most important Easter Sunday I've ever experienced. Why is that? Well, for obvious reasons. We are here faced with a global pandemic called the coronavirus, and we've been forced to do some pretty unusual things in altering our lifestyles in order to battle this disease. The most important element of how it's impacted the entire world is how we've had to isolate ourselves from each other. And I know there's a lot of conversations centered around how helpful and harmful that can be. And this is what I want to really talk about. It's funny how something that's good for you can also be bad for you. And you've heard the expression, too much of a good thing. Well, anyway, I want to talk about an element that centers around my spiritual beliefs. I'm a Roman Catholic. This is the most special holiday for Roman Catholics. And we celebrate the resurrection of Christ on this day. Now, it's a complicated story that involves a lot of introspection and a lot of abstract thinking for many of us. And it starts at a very early age for us. So it celebrates the fact that our Creator sent His Son to live among His people and then become vilified, eventually crucified for His teachings. And then, in the absence of all hope for any of His followers, seemingly without reason, and of course later on rationalized by saying that it was prophesied that He would resurrect Himself from the dead. But again, that's a story. God was raised up into heaven, and it's said that He will come again to save us all. Well, in our belief, Christianity talks about, especially the Roman Catholic Christianity, talks about God being part of this Holy Trinity. And during Easter, we talk about Jesus Christ because that was the event that we're celebrating. But today I want to talk a little bit about the part of the Holy Trinity that's kind of obscured, and that's the Holy Spirit. Now, that's the most mysterious part of God's existence because there's really no way of identifying how that manifests itself into our life. With Jesus Christ, there are historical accounts of an actual person living among us. And of course, in our own abstract minds, we talk about the Father, the Creator, as being there. We don't need to know the details about that. We just fundamentally believe it. But it's the Holy Spirit that becomes quite confusing for us. And what I would like to suggest is that, especially at this time of the year, how important it really is to consider the Holy Spirit. Because as we sit here in isolation, many of us alone in our homes, some of us are very lucky to be surrounded by loved ones while we go through this together. And that, of course, makes things both difficult and challenging, but generally more comforting. So we are always concerned about those who are isolated from the rest of society and feeling that they are alone. Now that's called loneliness. What I would like to suggest, however, is that none of us, not one human being on this planet, is ever really alone. All around us, in our daily lives, manifesting itself in a lot of different ways, both in other human beings, in the other living items and animals and plants and so on around us, our own atmosphere, all that's living, including viruses, that we're never really alone. And the Holy Spirit is what really is with us at all the times. And it manifests itself in a number of different ways. It could be in the eyes of another person. It could be in the voice of a loved one. It could be in the sunshine. It could be in the clouds above you, the gray skies. But there's always a message behind that. And the message is that you may feel lonely, but you are never alone. Now, here we are, 2020. And I told you earlier that this is probably the most special Easter in my life. Well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, I didn't think I was going to make it and live this long with the guys I hung around with. So I'm grateful just to be here. In fact, when I was a kid, I would have been happy and settled with Easter of the year 2000. So here I am 2 decades beyond that. And I've been very lucky, surrounded with great friends, an amazing family, and my faith. With those 3 things, I get to examine whether or not I believe that we are alone or that we are not alone. And what I can tell you today, in Easter Sunday, April 12th, 2020, I am not alone. End of the lesson.